Brandy here or no?
No.
Where's he at?
Good afternoon and good evening to everybody. Welcome to Horse Racing Nation's division rankings with the one and only Dr. Derby. And of course, us, the Triple Clowns. We got AJ, the beautiful AJ, of course. He's always with us.
Oh, Randy's not here. Now I'm beautiful.
I know, you know how it is. And me, of course, Sarah Marie. Randy is not able to join us today. He is actually at the track rooting on a few horses. So Chip, it's great to have you back on. We had a lot of action this weekend and a lot to talk about.
We did. A lot of big races out there at Del Mar, which I know you guys were at. Attended Del Mar races yesterday, and obviously that's the site of the Breeders' Cup. So I think the racing yesterday took on some added significance because of that fact. So I guess I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yes.
You made the title of your last post. Pacific Classic has eclipse implications.
Yeah, we'll get into that. My subject, the horse I decided to kind of spotlight didn't work out too well yesterday, but I'm sure we'll talk about that.
I think that horse kind of shocked a lot of people. But yes, it's a great weekend. And next weekend, we have the Travers, which could shake things up even more as far as your rankings. But with that being said, let's get into it right now, and we'll just start at the top.
We'll start at the top. Yeah, older dirt males, and obviously yesterday's race, the Pacific Classic, figured into that equation. Going into the weekend, a Royal Ship, who was the second choice, I think he went up the second choice yesterday in the Pacific Classic. He was ranked number 6. He ran poorly. He was a horse I talked about in the rankings, had a shot to move up here, possibly be a contender even for the Eclipse. And I got a lot of pushback from a lot of readers about the Pacific Classic having Eclipse implications. But we have to remember there's only one older dirt male with more than one Grade 1 win. Nick's Go has 2. No one else has more than 1. So whoever had won the Pacific Classic yesterday would essentially have the second most Grade 1 wins in the division. So Tripoli was the winner. He's run well since he's been moved to the dirt. His sire is Kitten's Joy, a turf horse. Kitten's Joy rarely has dirt horse top dirt horses that he sires, but I think Tripoli is probably his best already. Not already, but Kitten's Joy has been a sire for several years. So I think Tripoli is his best horse that he's had as on the dirt. So Tripoli, it was very impressive yesterday. He'll certainly move into the top 10. He was not ranked prior in the top 10. And since he's been moved to the dirt, he's 2 for 3. And he certainly, you got to call him a contender in this division, especially with the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar. He was very impressive. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I was very taken aback by that race. That horse was not on my radar to win. I did play him in some exotics to at least place a show. But when I saw him come out of the gate the way he did and the way he performed on the back stretch and then coming around the turn, I was like, game over. He was very, very impressive to take off like he did. That gear he just shifted into in the stretch. And even more impressive, I thought, was also Tiz Magician just fighting him and not letting him go. And those two dominated that field really by what I think third was 10 lengths at least behind Tiz. So that race was something else.
Yeah, Tiz Magician was he was predominantly run longer actually, and he was 4.5 lengths clear of Dr. Post, who finished third. Dr. Post closed quite a bit of ground there in the last 100 or 200 yards to close the gap between him and Tiz Magician, but obviously it was clearly these two horses that dominated the race. And watching the race down the backstretch, you could kind of tell Tripoli was really moving along well, and he always looked like a winner to me. Moving down the backstretch, and Tiz Magician was really strong on the lead. So these two certainly performed well, and I'm sure their connections are certainly going to keep them on the path, the Breeders' Cup Classic path. They both obviously like Del Mar, and I think they both have to move. Well, obviously Tripoli will have to move into the top 10, perhaps even the top 5. Got to remember, since he's been moved to the dirt, like I said, he's 2 for 3, and prior to that, he had 11 turf starts with minimal success. So the move to the dirt has obviously worked out for his connections, and I'm sure they'll get him another race before the Breeders' Cup Classic. What makes sense is the Awesome Again Stakes in I think it's the end of September, early October at Santa Anita, and then the Breeders' Cup Classic, where, like I said, he's a contender. Going over these rankings, we have Nick's Go at number 1. He's the horse with 2 Grade 1 wins this year. He won the Whitney a couple weeks ago. Obviously, he's very solid, but I'm sure you both will agree there's question marks regarding Nick's Go and getting 10 furlongs. He's going to have to ship to Del Mar, right? AJ, you got to agree with that, right?
Well, yeah. Well, the Tripoli, the race, I mean, obviously it didn't surprise me. That was, I think, the only race I got right at Del Mar the entire day was picking Tripoli in that race. I don't think I hit another race the entire day, so it wasn't a huge surprise because, again, the switch to dirt was so huge. And then, obviously, Chip, when I look at your rankings, Royal Ship's in there, Express Train's in there. Tis the Magician still ran a pretty good race and has been a pretty solid horse all year long. I mean, do you give him a little love and give him in like somewhere in the late or the back end of the top 10 there at all?
Will he move back into the top 10, Tis Magician? Absolutely. So yes, he was very impressive in the race. He won his prior start. I don't remember the name of the race, the Cougar. I think that was a Cougar handicap. But and then prior to that, he was second at Belmont in that Brooklyn. I think it was the Brooklyn, right? The long 1.5-mile race on Belmont. Yeah, and so he's been running longer, but he like I said, he ran well, and he's got to move into the top 10. Obviously, Tripoli is going to move in the top 10 right now. Like I said, Nick's Go was ranked number 1. Maxfield was ranked number 2. No Grade 1s wins this year, but he's ranked number 2 over Silver State because he's got that head-to-head win over Silver State when he defeated him in the Whitney. Silver State number 3. He has that Grade 1 Met Mile. He also won the Oaklawn Handicap. And then, of course, we have 2 horses on the shelf ranked number 4 and 5, Country Grammar and Mystic Guide. Those horses are going to drop. They're done for the year. So they're eliminated from any eclipse contention. So Tripoli will likely move into the top 5 because, well, he deserves it. Royal Ship will fall out of the top 10. That was a very, very, very disappointing race, and there's no excuses. So he's going to fall out of the top 10. Then rounding out the top 10 heading into this weekend was By My Standards, Max Player, Idol, and Express Train. Express Train also ran poorly. He's going to fall out of the top 10. Idol's coming back soon. He'll stay there. Dr. Post really ran, I thought, well, considering he looked like he was done on the far turn. He backed up the last. Something clicked. He finally got moving. I don't know what went on there, but he certainly closed well. If he got into the race a little sooner, he might have been closer. So I think he's probably going to move into the top 10. I think the top 3 will have to move into the top 10 here. So that's kind of where we're at with the older dirt males. I think that the eclipse in this division, contrary to popular opinion, I think is wide open simply because Nick's Go is going to point to the Breeders' Cup Classic. He's going to have a prep before. Okay, he might win the prep. But the bottom line is, if he goes to the Breeders' Cup Classic and is defeated by, Tripoli or any one of these others who already have a Grade 1 win, that Breeders' Cup Classic will give them 2 Grade 1 wins, the same as Nick's Go, and a head-to-head win over him. So I still think the division's wide open for the eclipse.
Yeah. How do you feel Tripoli can compete with Nick's Go, Maxfield? We got Max Player in now as well for the Classic. How do you think he fits the mold there with those as far as competition-wise?
Well, the Breeders' Cup Classic is at Del Mar in California. So this is a big deal for horses based there, and it helps Tripoli a lot. Maxfield has shipped out west to Santa Anita. We saw what happened in the Santa Anita handicap when he was 3rd. I am not really high on Maxfield going into the Breeders' Cup, shipping back out to Del Mar at 1.25 miles. Silver State is likely not going to point to the Classic. He's going to point to the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. And then after that, I mean, it's pretty much wide open here. There's really no one else that stands out to me. So if Nick's Go, don't get me wrong, if Nick's Go can transfer his form to 10 furlongs, he's the fastest horse in the country. I mean, we know this. So he could very well run them off their feet and go wire to wire, and there's your Eclipse winner and possibly Horse of the Year. We'll see. So, but there's some big questions. This is no gimme. He's never, he's not been able to. He's not tried a mile and a quarter, and there's still question marks.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with you on Next Go. There's so many question marks. I always have a hard time picturing him winning, and even picking him to win in the past races. I would play him in exotics, but not in a win position. And I don't know. I'm just, like you said, I don't think there's any better way I could say it. There's so many question marks with Next Go.
Yeah, this is a interesting year in that just the division is so nobody's really taking control. Yes, Next Go won the Whitney, but prior to that, his last big win was the Pegasus in January. So, this division's wide open, like I said, and I agree with Brandon where he said the classic division so far seems wide open. Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be interesting how the next 2.5 months go. We have a lot of win-in-year ends left. I know opening weekend of Santa Anita, there's 6 win-in-year ends that weekend, so that'll be quite a shakeup as far as your division rankings go.
Yes.
What do you think about Max Player? Can we drop him out of the top 10 now?
Well, we can't.
I mean, his one big win is just over a crappy track up in New York. I mean, what else has he really done?
But
I think we can ship him out of the top 10.
Well, he hasn't run since, so we have to give him a chance to run again. And part of racing is running on, sloppy tracks, muddy tracks, what have you. So, I give him credit for winning. Now, do I think he could come out and beat the best horses in this division? No, but he deserves a shot to be ranked right now.
Debatable.
He does. Debatable. I know AJ will disagree.
Yeah, that's fine. Good. We got to have some disagree. We got to have some arguments here.
Debatable.
I know.
I'm looking for an argument. Let's go. We'll get to it.
I mean, his biggest claim to fame will always just be losing to Tizelaw 500 times in a single year.
True. You look Dr. Post and Max Player, kind of like the supporting cast of last year's 3-year-old class. So and now they're. But you know what? They're running. Authentic and Tizelaw or not. So hey.
Touche.
So I guess we could jump into the older dirt females. That's the next. And there wasn't a lot of action this last weekend, but there is a lot of action coming up. Latrushka obviously is ranked number 1. She's also, in my opinion, leading the Horse of the Year race. She's going to hook up next out, it looks like, against Swiss Skydiver and the Personal Ensign next week. And that's a big race for Latrushka. Another grade 1. If she were to win this race, she's clearly in the lead for Horse of the Year, and I think she would have the Eclipse nearly wrapped up. But She Dares the Devil certainly ran well. She's ranked number 2. She ran well last out at Del Mar. She has a race over the surface, so don't count her out yet. They've split their 2 meetings, Latrushka and She Dares the Devil. So right now, I think She Dares the Devil is ranked number 2. Monomoy Girl is ranked number 3, but she hasn't run. Any word on that, Sarah? You have some inside info there.
All I know is that she's been looking good. I'm not sure where she's at in her process as far as her recovery process, but I know the hopes are up for her return, hopefully later this year, but I think fingers are crossed at this point. But things are looking good because I know at one point it was in question of is she going to come back? But more and more I hear, and signs are pointing to yes with Monomoy Girl. So I'm actually excited about that because she was really coming to with her older career. I mean, for her, I was very impressed. Yeah.
Okay. I'm interested. I mean, she's still ranked number 3 because no one's really done enough to pass her. Swiss Skydiver, she was 4th last out in the Whitney. She's going to get back running against females, and she's going to have a tough task with Latrushka. Swiss Skydiver pretty much has to win out to have a shot at the Eclipse. She's ranked number 4. Then as time goes by, who was just beaten by She Dares the Devil at Del Mar and that Clement Hirsch, she'll come back again in the race at Santa Anita as a prep for the Breeders' Cup Distaff. So these that's your top 5 right there. And rounding out the top 10 is Ebutante, Antoinette, Venetian Harbor, Point of honor spice is nice. The division is very top heavy in my opinion. So I think it really comes down right now. I think the eclipse is between Latruska and She Dares the Devil. Neither of these two will face each other before the Breeders' Cup. So the key for She Dares the Devil is if Latruska wins her next start, I don't know. I think it's going to be tough for anybody to unseat her for the eclipse, even if she were to lose the Breeders' Cup distaff. But I guess there's a lot of, we have a few more, races before the distaff. We'll see what happens. But Latruska is certainly in the driver's seat of this division.
Yeah, I agree with that. Latruska kind of, she was in the shadow of Monomoy Girl. When she beat Monomoy Girl that one time, everybody kind of thought it was a fluke. They really did. And then Latruska just continued after that, showing what this horse was really made of. She Dares the Devil, I got to watch her, what was that, a couple weeks ago now?
Yep, very impressive.
Very impressive. Oh, my God. I mean, it was really awesome to be in the grandstands at Del Mar watching this race because eyes were focused on this horse of what is she bringing to the table? What can she do? And she just came with everything. She came with her guns loaded, and that was an incredible race. So I'm excited for what this distaff field is really going to turn out to be.
Yeah,
I think it's really just going to be those two, like you said.
Yeah, and I agree. And don't underestimate. What She Dares the Devil did. She's answered a lot of questions for me. Being an East Coast based filly, shipping all the way out west to Del Mar and running that well. That answers questions that some of the others in this division have yet to answer. It's not a simple feat for an East Coast based horse to come out west, especially for the Breeders' Cup if they've never been shipped out there before, to just come out and run well. It's just, we've seen it many times for West Coast Breeders' Cups where you have the East Coast horses come out and for one reason or another they just don't fire. So she's already answered that question. So to me, she's a live horse come Breeders' Cup Day. Now, Latruska, we know she can ship and run at different tracks. All right. She's from Mexico. She's a legend from Mexico. So I have no doubt she'll be fine. My question with Latruska is she's hot right now. She's in her best form of her career. So can she maintain this form till November? So that's the key. And I know her trainer went on record saying he wished the Breeders' Cup was this week because that's how hot his horse is. That's how in form Latruska is, but it's not. It's 10 weeks from now. So we'll see where we're at in 10 weeks.
Well, I mean, you're only asking her at that point to really just kind of go 2 more races.
You're right. 2 more races.
November.
Yes.
And in the way she's looked all year since that the race that she was in with Monomoy and Swiss and kind of took the world by storm. Even though she only ended up like 4-1 in that race somehow, when that's all we talked about all week was Swiss Skydiver and Monomoy Girl in that race. And then still only ended up 4-1. I thought I had a gem there when I picked her. I thought I was going to get like 6, 7, 8. But no, I think has there been a more impressive horse the whole year? I mean,
no.
What she's done this year has been incredible. Even if she were to lose her next one and then come back and win at the Breeders', or if win the next one and then come back and be competitive at the Breeders' Cup. I don't understand how she couldn't win the Eclipse. I really don't.
You mean you don't understand how she could lose the Eclipse, right?
Could lose the Eclipse.
Yeah, and I agree with you, AJ. And I think that oftentimes, especially now in the last 10 to 15 years, for some reason, well, I know why. It's just that I think there's way too much emphasis on the Breeders' Cup. I get it. It's a big deal. It's the quote-unquote year-end championship, even though the horses have no idea it's a year-end championship. I think the horses need to be rewarded for what they've done an entire season. Latruska kind of fits that description. So, like I said, if she were to win next week, it's going to be tough for me to not vote for her for the year-end awards, regardless of what happens the rest of the way, because I'm not sure. I don't think she'll get another start prior to the Breeders' Cup. So if she wins next week, I don't know. I mean, even if she were to lose the Breeders' Cup distaff, I still think she's going to win the Eclipse. At least she's going to get my vote because she's done more than enough this entire season.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you're right. I agree with your comment about how this division is top heavy, because really the bottom 5, it's just like,
yes.
Are we going to see much more out of these? It's not going to be at the level that these top 5, top 4 are going to be doing.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Mona My Girl being out, or that hurt, but yeah, it's very top heavy, and then the clips is going to come down to, like I said, I think She Devil and Latruska. If for some reason Swiss Skydiver, ran big and beat Latruska next week, then okay, she's still behind Latruska, but again, she'd have to win out, in my opinion, at least, to win the Eclipse. She's just missed too much time, and she lost to Latruska earlier this season. So I think Latruska is in good shape here.
Even though, and again, I'm on Team Latruska. I think we all know this because I've been behind that horse this entire year on our show. But even though that Swiss took a shot against the boys, and then comes back and then beats Latruska, I mean, that's got to make for a conversation.
Oh yeah, it does, and I don't penalize the connections of Swiss Skydiver for running in the Whitney. To me, that's a wash. She ran against in a very difficult race against older males. She finished 4th. She didn't run bad, and it was her first start in 3-4 months. So no, that to me, it's not even an issue here. As far as I'm concerned, she ran 3rd she won the Beholder Mile, and she ran 3rd against Latruska at Oak Lawn. So she just hasn't been able to run for one reason or another. So it'll be good to get her back to the races and back against females. And I'm very interested to see how she decides, or how her connections decide to run that race. Do they engage Latruska from the start? Do they stalk her? I don't know. It's very interesting.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
Yeah. Speaking of good ones, let's go to the 3-year-old males, because we'll see a lot of shakeup there with some of these guys headed to the Travers next weekend as well.
Yeah, interesting. Obviously, the Travers Stakes, the midsummer sort of derby, midsummer Kentucky Derby next week. I think it's going to be light. Come up kind of light. Essential Quality obviously is number one ranked horse in this division. The winner of the Belmont, the 2-year-old champion from a season ago, certainly has been outstanding in his career thus far. He won the Jim Dandy a couple weeks back. He'll be the favorite this weekend, next weekend in the Travers. I can't see him losing this race, guys, and I think he's going to win the race. And I think maybe he'll have one more start before the Breeders' Cup, but he's clearly the leader right now. It's going to be tough to unseat him. However, there is a path for a couple others, which I'll get into here in a second. But he's the favorite for the Travers. I don't think he's really going to be facing much in this Travers. Mandolin's out. Rombar's out, but what I mean by out is they're out for the season. More than likely, they're going to skip these races and some major fall races. So Medina Spirit is not going to run in the Travers. We'll get to him in a minute. Hot Rod Charlie's not going to run in the Travers. So the Travers is Essential Quality's race to lose. Assuming he wins, he furthers his lead in the division. But if we talk about the number 2 ranked Hot Rod Charlie, who crossed the wire first in the Haskell, was disqualified. We've talked about that. Ran a great race in the Haskell. His connections are going to wait for the Pennsylvania Derby at the end of September. So he's in a must-win race there. And assuming he wins that race, I mean, Hot Rod Charlie's been outstanding this year. And it's, I'm off the subject here a little bit, but it's very rare. We have the Essential Quality and Hot Rod Charlie, the 1-2 finishers from last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And you know what? These two have starred this whole year at age 3. That's very, very rare. In fact, the top 3 for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, number 3 was Keep Me in Mind. He's run well now. He's run well his last couple starts. So it's very rare where you have the Breeders' Cup Juvenile 1, 2, 3 finishers come back at 3 and all establish themselves as top 3-year-olds. And so I think that's kind of cool that we've seen Essential Quality and Hot Rod Charlie sort of be the the leaders of this division since the end of the season last year. So anyways, Hot Rod Charlie's going to run in the Pennsylvania Derby. And then from there, he'll obviously point to the Breeders' Cup Classic, which is on his home base in California. I have a feeling, and AJ, sir, correct me if I'm wrong, I have a feeling that both these horses are going to win their next start. And they're going to head to the Breeders' Cup and have a nice little clash. I'm not sure it'll be a clash for the Eclipse. I can't envision, unless Hot Rod Charlie were to, win the Pennsylvania Derby, then win the Breeders' Cup Classic, defeating Essential Quality. But even then, I'm not sure that's enough to unseat Essential Quality, especially if he narrowly beats him. So it's an interesting dynamic. I'm a big Hot Rod Charlie fan and Essential Quality fan, and I just think these two are head and shoulders right now, top of the division. Number 3 is Mandolin. He'll drop because he's out for a while now. Number 4 is Medina Spirit, the Kentucky Derby winner, who's now firing bullets. And I thought he was going to run the Shared Belief on August 27th, and he still could. They'd have to supplement him for $1,000. But if he doesn't run there, it looks like, and I think Bob Baffert, his trainer, has mentioned the Pennsylvania Derby. So what if he goes to the Pennsylvania Derby, beats Hot Rod Charlie, which, by the way, he's already beaten him this year.
Yeah.
So you gotta, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but Pennsylvania, and then you have to consider him back. So it's an interesting dynamic here. I know a lot of people, they're a little, upset with Medina Spirit's connections, but forget the connections. Let's talk about the horse. And I'm kind of rooting for him. I'm rooting for him to prove some people wrong, run well in the Pennsylvania Derby. And if he wins, you know what? Breeders' Cup Classic on his at his home base, and you never know. I still think he's in it with a shot in the Eclipse race. So, what do you guys think?
I think it would be really interesting to see him go against Hot Rod again. I mean, I agree with you. People need to kind of drop how they feel about the connections and focus on this horse. This horse is a really good horse. This horse is a strong horse. To see him, I mean, selfishly, I would like to see him in the Shared Belief just because that's my home track. I would like to see him. But really, I think it would be more of an interesting move for him to go to the Pennsylvania Derby as well and face Hot Rod Charlie again. Yes, like you said, he did beat him, obviously. But I'm with you I'm a fan of Hot Rod Charlie. I've been on this horse for a while now. And I mean, we already talked about the Haskell and that debacle there. But I would like to see Medina Spirit shoot for the Pennsylvania. I would like to see those two horses race against each other, pre-Breeders' Cup races. So I just, let's see what this horse has. I mean, Medina Spirit's a pretty good horse, but like you said, I'm a Hot Rod Charlie fan.
Yeah, Bob Baffert's not going to ship Medina Spirit to Pennsylvania unless he thinks he's got a live horse and he's been firing bullets. And like I said, it's very interesting. Both Hot Rod Charlie and Medina Spirit, they've run against each other before, and I'm not of the belief that Medina Spirit needs the lead in his races, and I'm really excited to see how he runs. So interesting dynamic there. Rounding out the top 10 in this division, Jackie's Warrior, Drain the Clock, 2 sprinters, but they deserve to be ranked because they've run really well. Midnight Bourbon, Known Agenda, Life is Good, and let's talk about Life is Good for a minute.
Yeah,
we remember everybody was high on Life is Good for the Kentucky Derby. He was injured. He's been transferred from Bob Baffert to Todd Pletcher. We got a fascinating race coming up next week in the King's Bishop at Saratoga, 7 furlongs, where you're going to have Jackie's Warrior, Drain the Clock, and Life is Good battle one another in a 7 furlong sprint. It's a fascinating race. I'm interested to see how Life is Good runs. I've always been the believer that Life is Good is going to be a sprinter. I don't believe he's going to he reminds me a lot of Gamine. So I think that Life is Good is going to do better sprinting around one turn. And you know what? I think it's a great race. In fact, it might be one of the better editions of the King's Bishop we've ever seen, with Jackie's Warrior, Drain the Clock, and Life is Good. 3 great sprinters.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow, I didn't realize Life is Good is going to that race.
So Life is Good is, it reminds you of Gamine, except for slower, obviously. And then, okay, going back to, because we ran through it real fast.
Yeah.
And I do have to touch on the Hot Rod Charlie thing. Not a fan. Never been a fan. Still not a fan, because I mean, literally the fact that you are known for running the best effort you possibly could have gave, and still lost to Essential Quality, who's our leader, and then you come back and you win it. You cross the wire first at Monmouth. Really, Monmouth? I mean, let's just give Charlie the participation award at this point. Seriously, I mean, if Medina Spirit won the Kentucky Derby, comes back. I mean, still ran third in the Preakness. If he comes back and wins one more race, I am putting Medina Spirit so far ahead of Hot Rod Charlie. Hot Rod Charlie wouldn't know what Medina Spirit's tail looks like from his being so far back. I mean, oh man, this Hot Rod Charlie talk, guys. I mean, Chip, what are we doing here? Really?
Well, listen, if Medina Spirit beats him, certainly he's going to move ahead of Hot Rod Charlie. But Hot Rod Charlie did defeat Essential Quality in the Kentucky Derby. All right, he finished ahead of him, and I just think he's deserving of where he sits. I thought his Belmont was just an unbelievable race. Now we don't have to get into it. I understand. I know your feelings on that, but
best effort we'll ever see him give, and he lost. Oh yeah, let's reward him.
Well, he's not. He's still behind.
You're not
Essential
first.
Quality.
You're last, Chip. We all know that.
So yeah, well, let's just see what happens. The Pennsylvania Derby, obviously, if Medina Spirit goes, those two will star in that race, and we'll see what happens here. I think obviously we get more clarity on where Medina.
Too, let's go to Monmouth where they don't have whips. Oh, and then let's take our horse to Parks. Yeah, also a really good move.
I have no comment.
Must be a solid horse.
All right. So I think we covered that division pretty well. I think we'll have a lot more to talk about next time we do this. Regarding that division, we'll know a lot more. 3-year-old females, we had some action over this last weekend where Mal thought number one heading again, she's going to stay that way as she was an impressive win. And she's going to stay that way. I think the first question in this race, based on her offset loss last time out when she was second. But she ran well, and she's certainly number one. In fact, it's going to be tough for me to envision anybody else now defeating her for the Eclipse. I mean, wouldn't you guys agree? Even if she, sits out and waits to the Breeders' Cup distaff and loses, I still think she wins the Eclipse. There's no one else in the division that can match her resume. I believe she now has 3 Grade 1 wins now. So no one else is.
She's
close
already
to
won
that.
it. Just give it to her now. Just give it to her.
I sort of agree. I just don't. I don't think that anybody's going to be able to unseat her. So she won that race by a length and a half. Clairiere sort of redeemed herself by running a good second place there. So Clairiere, who I believe that I had ranked number 6, she'll probably move back into the top 5. Maracuja, who ran poorly, she was 7th and last in the Alabama. She'll fall out of the top 5 there. Rounding out the top 5 was a Search of Results, who was number 2. She just ran in that test stakes, the sprint. I think they'll get her back routing. I don't penalize her too much for her loss there. She was 3rd. So she's going to maintain that number 2 spot. She was the filly that almost beat Malathot in the Kentucky Oaks. Crazy Beautiful was ranked number 3. She ran 2nd to last in the Alabama. So she's going to have to drop. I think Soothsay is ranked number 4. She's going to move up now. Soothsay is going to have a big race at one of AJ's favorite tracks, Parks, next time out in the Cotillion. So she'll have a big Grade 1 race there to see if she can further her resume. And should she run well there, she'll go back to her home base in California and be live contender in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. So really, like I said, I think it's Malathot. I can't envision her losing the Eclipse right now, but there's only really 2 fillies I could see that could possibly unseat her where there's a path, and it would be Soothsay and Search Results. Outside of that, I don't think there's anybody else. Rounding out the top 5 heading into this weekend were Clairiere, Will Secret, Obligatory, Zagil, and Army Wife. Army Wife was 3rd in the Alabama. Will Secret was 4th. So there you have it.
Well, Tom brought up Con Lima. Not a bad choice for a 3-year-old.
Yeah, but has won a. It needs a lot more resume there. Just 10. You talk about you had not a choice for Eclipse, or what are you saying? That's I'd have to know more about that horse, but I can't envision that horse contending for an Eclipse. But stranger things have happened.
Yeah, and maybe with the way the rest of these horses are falling off the list.
This was actually. And surprisingly enough, me and Tom did one show together, and now all of a sudden we're kind of on the same like wavelength.
Admitted that out loud.
This was one I'll say it aloud. This was one I actually wanted to bring up why it wasn't in the top 10, because this is a horse who has won
It's a turf filly.
Like three of four out of its last
3 or 4 stakes.
Races. A grade 3 lost to Santa Barbara, and then came back and won another grade 3.
Yep.
I would think should be involved in some sort of consideration there.
Well, she's in a turf division. Certainly she's run well.
Okay. So you're just leaving
there's some seasons you might see a 3-year-old filly, turf filly, in the 3-year-old dirt. It doesn't say dirt, but that's kind of what it infers, the 3-year-old females.
Okay.
But we've seen this before where there's been top 3-year-old turfers ranked in this division. I mean, she's got the second to Santa Barbara in the Belmont Oaks. Prior to that, she won the Wonder Again, and obviously won the Saratoga Oaks. So she certainly has a good record, and could certainly maybe be deserving of a ranking in the turf females, especially since Santa Barbara now has run so well and she was second to her. So she's sort of flattered there. So I could see Conlima maybe moving into those rankings. I'll have to take a look at that. Thanks for the recommendation.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I know you
have a couple other
defended it well.
Suggestions for the 3-year-old turf division.
All right, turf. Yeah, I see what Tom said. Yeah. Okay, and I think Chris made a comment about Going Global is a really good 3-year-old filly, also in the turf division. Absolutely, she was impressive yesterday. I took note of that race, and I'm going to reevaluate these 3-year-old turf fillies and possibly throw them into the rankings here. I generally don't like to put 3-year-old sprinters or 3-year-old turf horses, male or female, in the turf female or turf male rankings or sprint male or sprint female rankings early on in the season, because beating your own age group is one thing, but when you get against these older fillies and mares and older colts, it's a whole different ball game. But now we're getting to nearing the fall, and I know that there's not going to be any restricted races. They're going to face older, so now it's time to kind of reevaluate some of these horses and possibly put them in the rankings, and especially in the sprint division, which will could perhaps contend for the Eclipse, like Jackie's Warrior, Drain Your Clock, etc.
Yeah.
So, okay, where are we at here? Turf males.
Let's go to turf. Yeah, let's go to the turf males. I know we had a question from D-Rest about the turf males, which we'll get to after we go through the top.
Oh, I didn't see it, but okay, yeah, I'll go through the top 5. Obviously, domestic spending. Even though we lost the, I want to call it the Arlington Million, but it wasn't called the Arlington Million. It's called the Mr. D Stakes.
It's not even 4 million, Chip. It's not even 4 million.
No.
600,000.
600,000, yeah. So, he was caught behind a very, very slow pace set by the winner, 2 Emmys. Ran well to be second, but it's a loss, right? It's a loss. Didn't hurt him too much. He's still got a lead in this division, but it still leaves the door open for others because he didn't nab that extra grade 1. I think he's going to take the same route, and he's going to run maybe once more before the Breeders' Cup Turf. Same connections as Bricks and Mortars a couple years back. There's some questions regarding domestic spending as far as maybe possibly with the 1.5 mile distance of the Breeders' Cup Turf. We'll see. But he's clearly the leader right now. But again, the door's open for others. I know Colonel Liam did a lot earlier this year. He's been on the bench for a while. We'll see how he is, if he can get back to the races and maybe perhaps still get into this Eclipse race. He's ranked number 2 going into this weekend. These are the rankings going into this weekend because we had some action this last weekend in this division. Smooth Like Straight was ranked number 3 heading into this weekend. He ran this weekend and ran second to a horse that wasn't ranked, but would have been ranked, but he hasn't run this year. Mo Forza, who was ranked in the top 5 going into the season, but just hasn't run. And now he made his first start this year, was very impressive winning that Omar Mile, and he's going to obviously pop right into the top 5 here based off that effort. He's pointing to the Breeders' Cup Mile, and he's a live contender. He's a really, really good horse, very highly regarded, and he beat Smooth Like Straight, who is very, very highly regarded at that mile distance. So Smooth Like Straight will stay in the top 5. Mo Forza will move into the top 5. United will fall out of the top 5 because United is ranked number 5. Tribute Haven is ranked number 4. He'll stay into the top 5. He won the United Nations last out that Grade 1. United did not run well this last week and went 4th in the Del Mar handicap. So he's going to fall out of the top 5. Running in the top 5 heading into this weekend where Gufo hit the road, who ran 3rd in that Del Mar mile. Raging Bull, 2 Emmys, cross border. The winner of the Del Mar handicap is a horse named Astronaut, who was 2nd last time out in the San Juan Capistrano. It'll be interesting. I'm not sure what to do with him. I don't know how good he is. He obviously beat Acclimate, United, Arklow this last weekend. Yeah. So, you got to give him credit. And he's sort of like Tripoli in that he's kind of come into his own now, and perhaps he deserves a top 10 ranking.
Well, yeah, I mean, he broke his maiden and then got 2nd 3 straight times.
Yes,
and then so you're like, okay, won at 24-1. What do you think there? Yeah, I mean, I would think in Chip you make the rankings, I do not. But again, it's sort of like, I feel like the rankings are sort of like, what have you done for me lately? And this horse did come out and win. So I feel like obviously it's trending upward and has to be in consideration for sure.
Yes, he has to, and he'll probably move into the top 10. He beat a couple good horses here. So, and I don't think it was a fluke either. So, again, I'm not sure what is connected. The plans are for this horse moving forward, but he won a big race here, and he certainly got to be considered to move into the top 10. And like I said, United will fall out of the top 5. At least for me, he's going to fall out of the top 5, and Mo Forza will take his place above Smooth Like Straight. So it's your turf male division.
Yep. And D-Russ had a question asking, you think domestic spending is pointing to the Breeders' Cup?
Like I said, I think domestic spending trained by Chad Brown, same connections as our bricks and mortar. And if you remember the bricks and mortar season after that, Arlington Million, there were a lot of questions. A lot of people didn't think that they were going to run him in the Breeders' Cup at all because it was 1.5 miles, and they were concerned about him getting that distance. There was even some talk about him possibly running the Breeders' Cup Classic. I actually talked to Chad Brown in the tunnel after the Arlington Million about that. And the reason why is because of his pedigree, Giants Causeway. Could they maybe try Classic since they weren't doing the 1.5 miles? Decided, hey, we're going to give this horse a shot. He's earned it. We're going to run him in the turf, and worked out for him. So I believe that yes, he will run in the Breeders' Cup. I just think he's going to have to run in the Breeders' Cup, I think, especially because of that loss to the Mr. D if they want to win the Eclipse.
Yep. Yeah. I agree with your comment there.
And he's saying the Classic, not like just the Breeders' Cup in general, right?
The Breeders' Cup turf. He'll run in the Breeders' Cup turf.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would you not point him there?
Yeah. Right. All right, let's talk about the turf females.
Yeah, interesting. This division saw a shakeup last week with Santa Barbara winning that Beverly D. She jumped all the way to number 2. So going into this weekend, we had Alfiqua. That's how I pronounce her name. Is that right? I'm not sure. Alfiqua? Okay.
That's what I call her.
I call her Altica because I just forget one of the letters.
Altica?
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever.
I know it was Altica.
Yeah, I think it is.
Altica.
Works for me.
Let me see. Chip, you talk. I'll see if I can find out.
Yeah, look that up. Maybe we can find it correct. You might have to watch a video, but she's ranked number 1. A lot of people have Santa Barbara number 1. I do not. I think the filly I have number 1 has 2 Grade 1 wins. She's been very impressive. She's beaten Mean Mary. Sorry, she hasn't faced Mean Mary, but she's won the Diana. She won the Just a Game. She also won a Group 2 event overseas. I think she deserves a top spot right now. If the season ended today, it would be interesting. Not sure if it would be Santa Barbara. I think Alfiqua, or however you pronounce it, I think come out on top of the Eclipse. That's how I kind of look at this. So she's ranked number 1. Santa Barbara, the 3-year-old filly, was sort of ordinary at her home base overseas, but in 2 start here, she's been dominant over her own age group. In the Belmont Oaks, and then last weekend she she beat in the Beverly D, defeating Mean Mary, who is highly regarded in my opinion. So it's like I wrote, it'll be interesting to see where she makes her next start. And she's got to be, and I wouldn't normally say this about a foreign-based horse, but she's run here twice, right? More than likely going to run here a third time in the Breeders' Cup. So she will, in my opinion, be eligible for my Eclipse vote because she's running here more than twice, really. And if she comes back and wins the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, well, there's your Eclipse winner. So she's ranked number 2. Mean Mary falls to number 3. No excuses in the Beverly D, but she was game to hold on to that runner-up spot. I know I read where her connections are considering possibly running against the males next start in the Turf Classic at Belmont. That would be interesting because if she were to win that, that's big. I see that comp. Mean Mary doesn't play around, but she chokes the grade once. Well, I don't know. She ran well. She was very game in that Beverly D getting second. I watched her hold off the all-comers to get that second spot. And you know what? They're going to try her possibly against males her next start. And if she wins that, to me, that's like 2 grade 1 wins against her own sex. So we'll see what happens there. Number 4 is an interesting filly named Warlike Goddess, who's been just a crazy running style, comes from far out of the clouds here. She's way far back in her races, but she's been dominant her last few starts. And if she gets any kind of pace, she's very difficult. So Belmont trained, she's very interesting, a very interesting horse. Again, and I wrote, it's an intriguing horse to look forward to as we, turn the page to important fall races. I'm not sure where she's going to go next, but she's certainly intriguing horse, as I wrote. The number 5 ranked Thundering Heights. In fact, Thundering Heights was second to Mean Mary, and then she went back overseas and won an Irish Group 1. In fact, I believe Thundering Heights was running today, and I don't have the results of that race. I guess I should have looked, but I thought she was running today, and I think she's going to come back here to the U.S. to run. So that's why she's number 5 based off what she's done. Rounding out the top 10 is Got Stormy, who beat the males last week, jumped into this top 10. Romance, Princess Grace, and Juliet Foxtrot. A lot of action in this division the last week, and the Eclipse is wide open here in this division.
Thundering Knights was 3rd.
Okay, she was 3rd.
She got 3rd today.
Okay, good. All right, that's good to know. So she was 3rd back in her second start back overseas. So she's still deserving of her ranking based off what she's done here. So, and I'm not even sure if that was an open company race where she ran against males or not. So, and that matters in my opinion. So, anyways, that's I think this heading in. I think we got 2 left: the male sprinters and the female sprinters.
Yeah.
Unless you guys have questions unless you guys have any questions about the female turfers.
I don't. I mean, I think you kind of covered my thoughts exactly. Santa Barbara was really impressive. Mean Mary was very disappointing. Got Stormy was incredible in her last race, winning that race for the second time. Blowout was always a horse that I think this one's a question mark for me too, because I mean, Blowout has blown out the field before and then comes back and is kind of a questionable pace.
Yeah, she's been like that. I mean, she's had her moments in the sun, and she kind of is ranked right. She should be ranked number 7. God Stormy kind of shocked me by winning that. I'm not sure. I, like others, thought she might have been, her best days might have been behind her. I don't know what to make of that. Either she loves Saratoga or she's somehow rejuvenated now and a player moving forward. So you got me. She's got the number 6 ranking, and that's where she'll stay for now. And it'll be interesting to see where she goes next.
Yep, exactly.
I think I couldn't find the actual pronunciation. It's Arabic, and I couldn't read it, so I just stopped.
All right.
I get the resume, and yes, Athika should be ranked number 1. However, this feels an awful lot like the Tis the Law Max Player relationship we just talked about a little bit, where Athika's only ever beaten Summer Romance like 16 times. It feels like every time she runs, Summer Romance is second, and it's sort of like, okay, well, beat somebody else, please. I mean, she might be the real deal, and I won't say she's not because I mean this is a New York horse, and I like, you know, I only play New York tracks, and so I do want this horse to be good, but at the same time, it's like a Tis the Law Max Player thing where she just keeps beating Summer Romance. Like, I mean, do something else, please.
Well, I think Summer Romance is good. But you're right. She hasn't faced anybody else, but that's not her fault. I think we'll get a better gauge on her in her next start. Santa Barbara, yeah, you know, that's an interesting filly, 3-year-old filly coming over and beating the best we have twice. Well, the best we have is just as 3-year-old fillies in the Belmont Oaks, and then of course the Beverly D and Mean Marion. And I agree somewhat with, it was Tom who said something about Mean Mary, maybe the grade 1 wins kind of having trouble, her choking. Obviously she doesn't know what's a grade 1. She's not really choking, but yeah, she kind of lacks that really, really big win. She was in position to win this Eclipse last year, and if she had run well in the Breeders' Cup, William Turf didn't happen. Yeah, I kind of see that. But you know what? Let's give her another chance. Her next start. I'd love to see her face the males, and I know why. It's a longer race, and they want to get her that on that longer distance. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Again, this Eclipse still open for several. Fall and grab it.
Mm-hmm. That is.
I guess we go to the male sprinters now.
Yep. Let's move on to the male sprinters.
We got 2 divisions left. Yeah. So this is turning out to be a really cool division because the 3-year-old males, the 3-year-old male sprinters are starting to heat up here. And I have 2 of them ranked in the top 5, Dr. Shivel and Jackie's Warrior. Life is Good is not ranked because he hasn't run, but he could be ranked after this coming weekend. Drain the Clock is a 3-year-old. He's ranked number 10. But right now, number 1 is CZ Rocket. He stays here despite his loss in the Bing Crosby. He was beaten a neck and a head for the win, finishing 3rd. But you know what? He's done enough where I felt like he still deserves a number 1 ranking. He was also, it was sort of a kind of a dress rehearsal for the Breeders' Cup Sprint for CZ Rocket because he ran without Lasix. Something his connections wondered how he would perform, and he performed well. So I think that if the season ended today, I think he would get Eclipse votes. He would get my vote. I think some people might vote for one of the 3-year-olds, but I can't do that because they haven't faced older. So I think he would get my vote. 2-ranked sprinter I have right now is Whitmore. He hasn't won this year, but you know what? Why is he ranked number 2 like I wrote? Well, he's better. His record right now this season is better than it was a year ago when he won the Eclipse. He's been the most reliable in this division outside of CZ Rocket, always coming with his run. He was a closing 3rd in the Vanderbilt last out. He stakes place in all 4 starts, and if he gets the right trip, he can beat all these horses. So don't count him out if he maintains his form. So, you know, especially come Breeders' Cup time, and we know he can ship. So he's ranked number 2. Flagstaff is ranked number 3, another tough older veteran where he fired again in the True North, but finished 2nd. He's at the top of his game, but there's a Lasix question with him. We'll see where he surfaces next out. Dr. Shivel, ranked number 4. He lands in this spot over Jackie's Warrior because Dr. Shivel beat CZ Rocker and the older horses in that last start in the Bing Crosby. So he gets the number 4 ranking. Jackie's Warrior was super impressive, winning that sloppy track Amsterdam at Saratoga, beating Drain the Clock. But again, that was over 3-year-old males. It was also over a sloppy track where we oftentimes see horses sort of, how do I put this, run freakish type races for the win. I want to see him do it again on a dry track, and we'll find out possibly this weekend where he's facing Drain the Clock again and Life is Good in the King's Bishop at 7 furlongs. So he's ranked number 5, and I do like Jackie's Warrior, but again, I want to see it again. Rounding out the top 10 is Lexitonian, Special Reserve, Firenze Fire, Mind Control, and Drain the Clock. Very interesting division. Again, the Eclipse is wide open here, right? You guys have got to agree.
Yeah, I do.
I would agree. It's so wide open to the fact that I think you butchered this top.
What?
All right, I love it.
What is he missing? Who is he missing?
I've been waiting to get to this point right now, this whole show. And I will say this, and here's what I'll say is the fact that, okay, so CZ Rocket stays on top. I'm just going to read what you said. Despite his loss in the Bing Crosby, where he's beaten by a neck and a half to win, finished 3rd, didn't run bad. Except for he did run bad. It was his 2nd slowest Bing Crosby of all time.
You know what?
Scheibel is
Scheibel.
That was such a terrible race. And then he stays on top because he got third in it. I mean,
look,
come on, Chip. And then, okay, no, whoa.
Who would you rank number one? Who would you rank number one?
There's a lot more to go. Just wait. 2, Whitmore hasn't won in 4 starts. That says it all to me right there. Hasn't won at all in 4 starts. And guess what? He's number 2 when, guess what? How many horses have beat him this year alone? 2 of them. One is on your top 5. And I'll give you credit for that. The other one is number 6. I got to look it up. Lexingtonian, who's probably got one of the better resumes out of most of your top 3 this year alone. And then Flagstaff out of the older dirt like sprinters here that we all are in love with for some reason, like the CZ Rocket, the Whitmore, and the Flagstaff, which we all want to agree, like, oh, these are the greatest, like these are such good sprinters because Whitmore won the Breeders' Cup Sprint last year. Here's the thing. Outside of them running against each other, none of them win. CZ Rocket is 0-2 against races that are 3-year-olds and up. He's 2-0 against races that are 4-year-olds and up. Whitmore is just 0-4. He loses to everybody. So when I look at the top 5 that you have here, I'm like, okay, like I get it. But CZ Rocket's only won at Oaklawn. We're not going to Oaklawn for the Breeders' Cup. We're going to Del Mar. So he's won at Oaklawn. Cool. He lost at Lone Star to Mimosa. Mimosa's not even a sprinter. I mean, granted, it was a mile.
They tried to stretch him out in that. That was a mile race. So
a stretch out at a mile. Stretch out at a mile, Chip. I mean, come on. I will take Jackie's Warriors appearance in the Pat Day Mile on Derby Day as more of a sprint than him trying to go to Lone Star and run a mile. Because what Jackie's Warrior did, and here's what the point I'm trying to make too, is the fact that these 3-year-olds deserve a little bit more credit. Jackie's Warrior made the mile a sprint on Derby Day, running like a 20 split and then a 40, and then still.
Oh no, not 40, but not 40. It was 44. Yeah.
Well, I think if you watch it over again, I think it's like a 41 or 42. It was incredibly fast.
I think
Jackie's Warrior might
40,
be the best sprinter in this division. And here's what makes me mad about your rankings. Because I'm not done, Chip. I'm not done. Drain the Clock, you have ranked at number 10 out of this field.
Yes.
He's 4 for 5 in sprint stakes this year with 2 grade 3s and a grade 1. His only loss is to Jackie's Warrior, which was over an absolute mud pit up in New York. And you have the absolute audacity to name him the 10th ranked sprinter in this division? Are you out of your mind? Drain the Clock should be in the top 10. Whitmore should be in the top 10. There's two in this division who haven't. I mean, Dr. Scheibel, okay, I get it. He did win. But Whitmore, CZ Rocket, and Flagstaff, let's get over these older sprinters because I guarantee right now, Flagstaff, Whitmore, CZ Rocket will not win the Breeders' Cup Sprint.
Look, what you just your commentary there, a lot of fans will agree with you and have written that in comments underneath my rankings. I know that a lot of people hated the fact that I put the 3, 4, and 5, which I actually think is pretty high right now. But and what you said about Flagstaff, Whitmore, and CZ Rocket not winning the Breeders' Cup Sprint, you could absolutely be right. It could be, it could be Lexitonia. It could be Drain the Clock. It could be Jackie's Warrior. It could be Life is Good. You're right. Could be Dr. Scheibel. I'm going to stick with these rankings. I look at a horse like Drain the Clock, which you're right. He has a very good resume against 3-year-olds, not against older open companies running restricted races, right? He won the Swale, a sprint race. He won the Bayshore, a sprint race. He won the Woody Stevens, the sprint rates, all against 3-year-olds, right? And then he was second in that Amsterdam, which I agree with you. Was a weird track. Yes, he was second, but I actually think Drain the Clock is going to be a lot more competitive this weekend on a dry track against Jackie's Warrior and Life is Good. Jackie's Warrior has been super impressive, but I think the Amsterdam was his first sprint win, a true sprint win of the season. Again, he hasn't faced Older.
He made the Pat Day Mile a sprint.
And I agree with you. I agree with you. He ran super impressive in that Pat Day Mile. I just put a lot of stock in running, and I just think it's a big deal for a 3-year-old to be there in the late summer or fall of their 3-year-old season. It's a big deal. That's why they're ranked where they are. Dr. Schivel actually beat Older. Now, I know a lot of people say that race was slow. I disagree. I don't agree with the speed figure that was. I have it 5 or 6 points higher. That's it's. I'm just gonna
only the third time ever it's been ran over 110, but yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of it has to do with the track variant and some other things, and I get pace and all that, but I still think it was a good field. And do I think CZ Rocket is the same horse he was, say, earlier this year when he ran last out? No, he did not look the same. He didn't look as good, as crisp. However, still he deserves number one based off what he's done. Be champ. And again, last year Whitmore going into the Breeders' Cup, I believe had one graded stakes win.
Whitmore's won 2 races in the last 2 years. Let's be real.
But he won the Eclipse. You know why? Because the voters, and I did not.
Because of his Breeders' Cup win, and I get that. But here's the thing.
I don't like that. I did not like that. I did not vote for Whitmore.
I hated it too.
Yeah.
I thought CZ Rocket made more of a case almost with the year he had last year, winning 5 and 6 in a row.
I thought Vekoma or the other sprinter.
Yeah.
Who was the other one?
I think there was a lot better case to be made. I feel like he was given that because of the Breeders' Cup. But here's what I'm saying.
Absolutely, which I disagreed with.
And I'm going to hold you to that because your ranking of him at number 2 is you legit say in the paragraph that you rank him there because he's in the same spot as last year. Now, so you're making your rankings predictively, which is not and should not be the case. I would think if you're making a legitimate ranking, Chip. So you're making your rankings predictively. Oh, he was kind of in this spot last year. So now if he wins, but look, here's the thing. There's no guarantee he's going to win. So how can we put him number 2 when he's 0 for 4?
I look at it like this. If you're going to line these 10 horses up right now, put them all in the field right now, who do you think is the post-time favorite right now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it would be
post-time favorite.
Well, between these 10,
Jackie's
I don't think
Warrior.
And Jack, yeah, those two would be.
It depends where it's run, I think. I think
the clock is certainly better than top 10, Chip.
Well, he's in the top 10.
Yeah, he's in the top 10 still. But we have one more category left. Let's get through the female sprinters.
Oh, perfect.
AJ, you'll be happy with the number 1. So
I'm not going to be, which is the greatest part.
Number 1 in the ballerina, I think next weekend. And she deserves to be number 1. She's unbeaten this year. She's run I think 3 really good races this season, sprint races. She's not the same filly she was a year ago, but we're going to find out coming up next out. Pat McKenzie says Nashville and Life is Good are the most talented. Well, that's up for discussion. I mean, I don't know what that means. Are they the most talented? I think you could say that about many horses. It's a question of staying healthy, by the way, is part of being talented, in my opinion, in this sport. Staying healthy is part of being a champion, just like it is in any other sport. So it's important to stay healthy. Right, AJ? You know this from other sports.
I know. That's my favorite thing you've ever said. Staying healthy is just, you can't make it to the Hall of Fame if you don't play. I mean,
absolutely. I've always been a that. People will use excuses for this horse or this horse. Oh, well, they missed me. Well, hey, part of being good and part of winning Eclipse Awards and part of being a champion is staying healthy. So, hey, stay healthy, run races. you'll get the Eclipse. You'll get your grade ones. Moving forward, Gamine ranked number 1. She's going to run this weekend. Bell's the one is ranked number 2. She looks like she's headed to the Ballerina. Scotson's ranked number 3. Looks like she's headed to the Ballerina. Then we have Kamari, ranked number 4, run since April. I don't know where she's headed next. She's going to drop. I've been saying that, kind of put forth a resume to pass her, but she's ranked number 4. Estelle Talentoso is ranked number 5. Running out the top 10 is CC, Lake Avenue, Bella Sevilla, Frank's Rocket, and Super Sensational. This division will see a lot of action next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you guys say?
I have to say, I don't think Bell's the one is going to the Ballerina.
No?
That is, according to Chip's website, Horse Racing Nation.
Oh, okay.
She is not a problem for there.
Okay.
Wisconsin is, which I am very interested to see because, so the Gamine Wisconsin race that we seen on Derby Day.
Yes.
We'll get a rematch of where people talked about. Well, look, that to me is like a Hot Rod Charlie race where it's like Wisconsin ran an awesome race and Gamine ran probably the worst we've ever seen her run something under a mile or a mile or under.
Sure.
So I mean, I think realistically, I do believe, especially with how chalky New York's been right now, she should run the doors off the place. There's no reason to believe the Bell's the one. I almost think is ducking.
I agree with you
a little bit.
If she doesn't run, I agree with you. I agree, and I think she had to run,
which is almost smart for her, because why would you want to run into that train wreck anytime other than when you absolutely have to? So shout out to the connections. Bill's the one to be like, yeah, Wisconsin, you go get beat by her. We'll just get second place in the Breeders' Cup. That's fine. So yeah, good call there. The one thing I will say, Chip, is I think there is no reason whatsoever that Bella Sophia shouldn't be in this top 5, simply because she ran the absolute doors off of the test. I know she doesn't have a huge resume to work with, but here's the fact.
Correct.
She came into a grade 1 and she just kicked the shit out of everyone. And it wasn't like it was bad competition. Like what Super Sensation was in there.
No, it was a good race.
And
search
results? Are you kidding me? I mean, when you're talking about competition, and she kicked the living shit out of them. And then you've got 2 horses in Kamari and Estilo Talentoso. I mean, at the very least, Chip, she needs to be up before Estilo Talentoso. I'm over that horse. Like, just get her out of there.
I think we should drop. I think that we should drop Kamari. I think we should drop Kamari. She hasn't run since April. I think maybe she should drop.
Yeah, but she also. I mean, Talentoso, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I just haven't found her that impressive, to be honest. Even when Gamine ran the worst race of her life, she wasn't even anywhere really near, even though she got 3rd. And then like Kamari, like you said actually in your article, was like when she runs, she runs impressive.
Yes.
And you're right. So I know she hasn't ran in a while, but Talentiso, whatever, I don't even the five rank that you have there.
Yeah.
I mean, even when she runs, she doesn't run that impressive. So I get why Kamari's 4th. I don't think Wisconsin and Belza 1 should be out of that, but one of those 2 need to drop. We need to get the Bella Sophia in there because I think she's going to be a massive dark horse come Breeders' Cup Sprint time.
And you might
you
might be right. She's run big races. She's only had 4 career starts, so she could be just an up and comer. I know I had her there because she's only been in 1 stakes race, but I can't penalize her too much. She's only had 4 starts.
Grade 1 against.
I know. I agree with you, and she certainly has a case, and I'll revisit that coming up this week, and maybe perhaps put her up there and take down. I kind of want to take down Kamari because I think it's just she hasn't run since April, and part of I get it. She's good. Yeah. She'd be favored over all of these except for Gamine. So
you got to run.
You got to run. So there you have it.
What's Frank's Rocket's next move? Do you know?
I do not. I don't know where she's running next. I kind of think we know what we got with Frank's Rocket as far as where she's at. You know, she ran the Breeders' Cup Sprint against the males last year. She actually is going to run on the 23rd of August tomorrow in the Seeking the Pearl Stakes at Colonial Downs.
Ooh,
so that's where she's entered.
Yeah.
Last out, she won the Saylorville Stakes at Prairie Meadows last out on July 3rd. So yeah, she's running tomorrow. So we'll see if she wins. Hey, we got to keep her in there. She won her last start after finishing third in that Grade 3, that winning color stakes. So yeah. Mouth stumbled yesterday. Was too much. What a filly. Yeah, she stumbled, I guess, a bit, but she was the favorite. She deserved to win, and she showed that last out loss was sort of a fluke. So I think you're right. She's going to win the Eclipse in that division. And the only question is, can she beat Older? I do not think she can beat the likes of Latruska or She Dares the Devil right now.
No.
I
mean, even
no. I don't think so.
What was it? Maracuja? What was
Maracuja? Who was last?
Maracuja. I know. I mean, it seemed like, okay, like maybe this horse has got something when she beat Malathat. And she didn't even put up a performance.
Didn't even try yesterday.
So I mean, it sucks.
Yeah,
it sucks because you kind of thought you had another contender there, but.
I think a lot of people yesterday going into the Alabama were expecting another duel between the two. And Maracuja,
I thought she was going to at least get it better than last.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't even show up for that race, really.
Malathat. Yeah, give her the Eclipse. Just give her.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do we need to vote, people?
Right.
It just seems silly at this point.
Yeah.
She's the first ballot Hall of Famer.
No, don't go there. We're done there.
We're done. For the Eclipse Award.
Oh, goodness.
First ballot Eclipse Award winner.
There you go. All right. Well, that was all of Chip's division rankings. We went through each one. Have really good insight. You know, like Chip's been saying, next weekend's going to shake it up a lot too.
Yes, next week is big, and the next time we talk, we'll probably have these Eclipse contenders down to 1, 2, or 3 for each division.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting. But make sure you guys check out Chip's rankings, horse racing rankings that go out Thursdays or Fridays on Horse Racing Nation. Follow him on Twitter; he always tweets about them, and also follow us as well. I'll put a link in the chat for his latest article on it. Mind you, these were pre-Pacific Classic, pre-Alabama, all the win and urines for this weekend. So, AJ, do you have anything else you want to add?
I think we should get Chip on more often so we can just pick apart his picks.
Yeah, I love it. I love to argue. I love to debate.
Right after the big races go off. So then
it's
easier.
Like a big show, like a post show.
Find holes into it.
Yeah. All right.
I'm just saying, Chip. I don't know.
I look forward to it. I love debate. I love debating with you. I love it.
I mean, what do we do?
You might need to have an AJ Chip SmackDown.
People count on you.
Horse racing post show.
I'm ready.
All right, Chip. It's always a pleasure having you. Well, having us on your show.
Yeah.
With Horse Racing Nation.
Having me on your show, but thank you.
Can't take that much.
You're welcome for having you both on my show.
On AJ's show.
All to everyone out there.
Please. All right, then. So good luck to everybody. And make sure, like I said, you follow Chip and us on Twitter. Our handles are down below. Make sure you hit that subscribe and like button to whichever station you're watching us on. And good luck to everybody. And we'll see you later.
Thanks.